Here we are,
Here we are.
Montana, the Flathead Lake Valley, right under Glacier National Park, relaxing on Sunday morning, a rainy morning, and we're going to hopefully learn something. We praise Yah for being here to inspire our minds through this modern marvel of video and technology. So, without further ado, Eric Bissell.
Okay, so you were just looking at that verse in Isaiah 3:9, right? So we want to read that one, so we can just pull that back up to speed. We're while you're looking at that, we're associating it with Qoheleth 3:15, and we're also associating it with the video that we shot yesterday up near Glacier Park.
So
that was
3:15.
about
Isaiah 3:9.
The one we shot yesterday was how did David strengthen himself, which was 1 Samuel 30, I think it was verse 28, something like that.
3:9.
Yeah.
The look on their faces witnesses against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to their being, for they have brought evil upon themselves.
In the next verse.
Say to the righteous, it is well, for they eat the fruit of their doings.
Okay, so right there, the concept that they eat the fruit of their doings, we were just talking about, is Samak Ayin Pei. That's the Mishkan pattern, at least in that section. And we could then do a further investigation and look before it and after it and probably find the rest of the alphabet. This is one of those hidden places that I haven't even seen before. In particular, I've said I've found like at least 500 places through the scripture where this pattern shows up. And so that the message is not only in the words, but it's in the pattern. So to say that they eat the fruit of their doings is Samak Ayin Pei, is what we were just talking about. And qualifying it by looking at the other letters, Aleph through Nun, which is before the Samak Ayin Pei, and then to look at the Mishkan pattern in particular, which starts with the letter Het, if you're going to associate that. And these words might be blah, blah, blah to people, but on the other hand, we can elaborate here. But to say they eat the fruit of their doings is actually Pei is a mouth, which eats. Okay? Ayin, if you draw it like just a circle, well, it might look like a melon, but the idea of drawing it like a horizontal teardrop shape with a dot in the middle, well, that's like an eyeball. It's kind of the almond shape with the dot like the pupil, but it's also a fruit. And so the tail end of the ayin, it looks like a stem, and the fruit seed being the dot in the middle. So it's a graphic image, but what does it mean? And to say that it's the fruit of their doings goes back to the previous letter, which is the Samak, which is a tree bearing fruit. To say that something that's often repeated is, Yahweh says that whatever we do is going to come back.
Okay.
A man will reap the repercussions of his own way brought back on his own head. Once you notice that phrase in the scripture, you'll find that Yahweh says it all the time. He will return a man's way upon his own head, a nation and an individual.
Samak Ayin Pei.
The phrase that Yahweh will return a man's way on his head, he says hundreds of times through the scripture, and it is iterated in the letters Samak Ayin Pei, meaning a man's way is what he does, how he conducts his business, how he treats people, the things that he say. It's the manifest from his heart. So if you look at before the letter Samak is the letter Nun and then the letter Mem. So the letter Mem is the deep inner heart. Nun is what jumps out of your heart, whether it's words or behavior, that's manifested as the Samak, which is a tree bearing fruit. The fruit that's born is the ayin. It's an eyeball, but it looks like a fruit. And then to eat that fruit is the letter Pei, the mouth. So, to say that, we were talking just a few minutes ago, that Yahweh says in another place that those who do iniquity, whether it's a country, a culture, or an individual, they have this cup of iniquity. And he said to Abraham regarding the Canaanites, the cup of their iniquity is not yet full. What does that mean? They've been doing bad stuff, evil things to one another, but Yahweh's going to wait until a certain period of time when the cup of the iniquity is full. And when the cup of their iniquity is full, Yahweh's going to take the cup in their own hand and force them to drink it themselves. The cup of wrath of his indignation is for people to drink their own cup of evil. That's Yahweh's way. That's called mishpat. Mem, shin, pei, tet. Now the word pei, tet means stalemate. Zero advantage, one over the other. Balanced scales. That's mishpat. Pei, tet. 0-0, or if you're playing a game of basketball and you've got 80-80, it's nobody wins, nobody loses. That's balanced scales. So the picture on this chart, here I can hold up the chart for the sake of the camera. Yeah. There you go. This is the pictures of what's written on the cards. This eyeball over the scales of balance with these arms like scales standing on a basic pedestal. Similar to, as I mentioned, Disney's Fantasia, the Wizard's Apprentice cartoon film. Mickey the Mouse was supposed to do a job of sweeping up, and he didn't want to do it, so he tries his hand at sorcery and has the broom multiplied, and then the broom is doing his work for him, and the broom kind of almost looks like that image, but the broom is then put to the task of sweeping up. But then all of a sudden the broom gets out of control, so he tries to chop up the broom in a bunch of little pieces, and the pieces all turn into brooms, and now they're all carrying water, and the place turns into a flood because it's out of control. It's out of control. Well, that concept, like the Sorcerer's Apprentice, hey, that's evil. We shouldn't be messing with sorcery. That's Disney. It's like, no, wait a minute. Think about that teaching for a minute. You're supposed to do a job, and you don't want to do your job, so you try to turn to sorcery, some form of witchcraft, in order to get out of doing your job. And the thing goes berserk. It goes out of control, and it's worse than it ever was if you'd just done your job. That's why people turn to sorcery. Only they don't know how to control it because it's out of control. It's a realm that we're not supposed to mess with. But think of that about that picture. You're supposed to just sweep with a broom, and then the broom doesn't have a rational mind because it's now under this magic spell. So it just does what you're trying to do, and it's accentuated. That concept is ravavot. So we were looking at Numbers 10, 35, and 36. Ravavot alfi Israel. Well, the word alfi is to be yoked and teamed together. Well, that yoked is the scales. Like I put my arms like this. What you have yoked is your burden, the weight you're carrying. And in that particular movie, it was the broom carrying 2 buckets of water. Well, if you're trying to carry 2 weights and your arms aren't balanced, you're going to throw your back out and have to go to the chiropractor. It's going to go into spasm. So when you're carrying stuff, if you carry 2 5-gallon buckets, you don't want one filled to the top with gravel and the other with something light. You're going to even the load. Yahweh says, do not plow in the field with an ox and an ass, or with something that's strong and something that's going to buck and pull away and not do it. You say, be evenly yoked in your marriage, in your crew, in whatever. You've got to be balanced. So in other words, Yahweh built into the universe the need for balance. It's an absolute. It's unequivocal. Even the word equivocable. Equi means balanced. Iso, as in isosceles, same side. It's the same word that we're going to find here in Qoheleth 3:15.
Wow.
So Yahweh built into the universe that everything must be balanced. And if you're carrying, like the broom, carrying these buckets of water, those buckets have to be equal. So when he's telling us, you better behave with equality, because that's what's going to happen. The whole universe is built to sustain an equality. That's what we'll see in Qoheleth 3:15. But then you go back to saying, well, when he says Psalmic ayin pei, even the Psalmic, and the reason I use the Paleo-Psalmic looking like this rather than like that, or rather than the modern Psalmic like that, is because it's balanced. You've got like a mast on a ship, the vertical and the 3 horizontal yard arms. If a ship is lopsided, it's going to capsize. You have to have everything perfectly balanced because that's what he built. The tree, if you have a tree that doesn't get any light on one side, it'll grow to the other side, it's going to tip and it'll eventually go down because it's unbalanced. There's something about perfect balance like a gyroscope. You could say, I could have an image of a gyroscope for the psalmic, it would be just as valid, but we have a picture of the menorah. 3 branches on this side, 3 branches on that side. There's graphic symbolism in everything Yahweh did. But this idea of the eyeball over the scales of balance, because the word ayin literally means weigh carefully, balance exactly, deliberate, look, scrutinize to the minute detail. That's what the word ayin, which is also the word eyeball, that's what it means. And so the fruit that we bear, the job we do is the psalmic. But the psalmic bears fruit, and the fruit we bear is going to be scrutinized. So in Galatians, 5:22, which says the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, mercy, self-control, all those are the fruit we're supposed to be bearing. But the way we treat one another is that fruit. How we do what we do, with what integrity, is the fruit that's being weighed and measured. So Belteshazzar, right, it was Nebuchadnezzar's grandson who was the king of Babylon. Well, I think, I keep getting those names, Belshazzar and Belteshazzar. Was Belshazzar Daniel's name and Belteshazzar the name of the king?
I think so.
Okay, anyway, it all means something, but regardless, I'm just trying to identify. So he had the handwriting on the wall, and it said, Mene, Mene, Tikkalu, Farsi. And it's like, tickled your what? It's like, no. Mene, Mem Nun He. Mem Nun means to weigh and measure, to count. So Mene, Mene is the same word repeated, and it means you have been very carefully weighed and measured, and that's the letter ayin. But Mene is Mem Nun, so it goes back to the previous piece of this pattern, which is the laver. Well, the laver follows the barbecue grill, which follows the big white fence, which is the beginning of this is the Mishkan pattern, but it's set up by those letters and resolved by those letters. But Mem Nun is right in the middle. And it's like, well, it only means something because of where it is in the context of the whole. The chronological sequence is what gives the Mem Nun its value. But Mem is water, but it's also a womb. It's also the inner self where you harbor attitudes, where you harbor, you might say, response to Kaf Lamed, which is the Torah, the teaching, the instruction. Lamed literally means teach and learn and repeat. Kaf is this open hand, but it's lines, like lines of instruction, like lines on the barbecue grill, like lines in the field. Lamed is actually shaped like a hoe. So you could say, Yeshua told us that the word of Elohim is the seed. He gave the parable of the sower. The seed is the word of Elohim. Yeshua told us that. So that's a given. The word of Elohim. Who's Elohim? Back up. Het, tet, yod. Well, het is a fence. So here you have the fence of the Mishkan. But the Mishkan, I draw it as a big white rectangular fence. Andrew Hoy talked about it being a round fence that was blue, purple, and red. Either way, the embroidery colors were blue, purple, and red that were on the gate, on the door, on the entrance to the Mishkan. So if the Mishkan was a big white fence, it's metaphorical, it's not actual, but it's poetical, artistic, but the concept is a big white fence, white linen. Well, white linen speaks of righteous works. Okay, so if the kingdom of heaven is the righteous works of what's blue, purple, and red with the white linen. Well, I'm backing up just to qualify. So you have the embroidery colors mentioned in Leviticus 20-something times. It's always in the same order, blue, purple, red. It's not, well, sometimes it's red, blue, purple, or purple, and it's always blue, purple, red. And so we mentioned yesterday, with white linen, we mentioned yesterday his name, the Tetragrammaton. That's Greek. Tetra means four. Gramma is where we get the word grammar or graphic, which is letters. 4-letter, Tetragrammaton. 4-letter sacred name that nobody's supposed to ever articulate. Yod, He, Wah, He. Or Yod, Vav, Wah, whatever. Point is, hey, there's 4 colors and 4 letters. All I did was try to associate the 4 to the 4 and say, what if you could align the colors to the letters? Blue, purple, red, white. Yod, hey, vav, hey. Okay, what's the yod? The yod is the working hand. That's why this is blue stripes. The working hand. Well, what working hand? The great working hand. The creator of the universe. The great yod. The working hand. Blue. Why is the sky blue? Because it speaks of his authority as being the maker of this place. So why do you wear blue thread in your zitziot? To remind you that he made this place, he made up the rules, and he told you what works and what doesn't work, how to get the blessing out of the curse, how to get the curse. And if you do what he says and remember what he says, you'll get the blessing. That's why there's a blue thread in the zitziot. Sapphire blue pave work of like tiled stones, brickwork in front of his throne that Moshe and the 70 elders saw on Mount Sinai. Sapphire isn't necessarily blue, but we think of sapphire as blue. Why blue? Because blue lines up with the yod of the creator. It's just an association. Mm-hmm. Hay. Well, here I have hay orange, but if I look blue, purple, red, white, well, this isn't white, but it lines up with Samik Ayin Pei in this white triangle in this other graphic that I did, which is actually down here. The point is, well, hay is orange. Like Ezekiel saw a wheel within a wheel in the heavens, there's patterns within the patterns. And it might get confusing, but I don't think it's confusing at all. But if you isolate, if you compartmentalize the wheel within the wheel within the wheel within the wheel, it's perfectly clear.
Perfectly clear.
It's much clearer to me than it's ever been because of learning his instructions and thinking about it, that the stuff I used to think the wheel was nonsensical to me now, because there's this detail. It even speaks of time, of calendar.
It speaks of gearbox of like Swiss clockworks. You know, you have gears within, pulley wheel, tooth gear wheels within other wheels within this turning. It's like the whole thing is like this big clockwork. It's really amazing what
but it takes all of it.
It all works. So you've got the cycle of day and night within the cycle of the 7-day week, within the cycle of the month, within the cycle of the year, within the cycle of the Shemitah, within the cycle of the Yovel, within the cycle of the 26,000 year progression of the equinoxes. And it's like it.
And they can work seamlessly together without being in the same timing.
Right, but they're all fit.
But they all fit. This is the excitement of Yahuwah.
And it's kind of all built into this because that's the same way that the letters work. There's cycles within cycles. There's things that affect it. It's like once you see it, it's like, oh, well, he's got it all perfectly orchestrated, and it works.
It works.
And we're just trying to discover what it is, which is what the word science means. I know one guy that, hey, Joe, there's one guy that hates the word science. It's like, he even hates philosophy. He calls it philosophy. And it's like, philo is the word for love, and Sophia is the Greek word for wisdom, so it's the love of wisdom. And that's not so bad, isn't it? Didn't he always say that we're supposed to seek wisdom with all our heart, and with our wisdom get understanding? So it's not that fools seek wisdom, but fools can, if they betray what wisdom teaches, they become fools.
And the proverb, and you'll know it right away, the proverb about that wisdom is for the sovereign, or this is for this, and the sovereign, and it points to us. If we're studying his Torah, we're sovereign.
The interesting thing about the word sovereign in Hebrew, it's the word melech, which is mem, lamed, kaf. It's like these 3 letters written backwards is the word melech. But mem is to personify, or to put in a solid state form, you might say, similar to the letter bet. But lamed kaf is the word lakah. There's a parashah, which is, people who don't know, parashah is a slicing up. It's not chapter. Chapters are a type of parashah. But the Torah, the 5 books of the Torah, are divided up into a certain number of sections, which if you read each section each week, you'll get through it in 1 year. So it's like there'd be 52 sections. So the parashah is a section to be read every year in the same time. But there's one parashah called Lech Lekah, which is literally spelled Lamed Kaf, and it means, it's translated, go, get out. That's the reading in Genesis where Abraham was told, leave your homeland and the place of your ancestors, of your father's house, get out to a place that I will show you. And so Abraham was known as the first Hebrew, even though a guy named Eber was, I think it was his grandfather. It's like Again, blending of words. There's a story in the words. If you decipher the meaning of words, there's a story within the story. But lek lekah means go, get out of here. But lamed is a prefix letter. Kaf can be a suffix letter. So where's the word? If there's a prefix and a suffix, where you combine them, lamed means a toward or a teaching or it's a shepherd's staff of control saying, get going, and kaf, the suffix means you or yours. So it's basically you get going or you get out of here, lek lekah. Or you could say lamed as a prefix means by, meaning there's a number of psalms that said this was by David, meaning he's the guy that wrote it. But it also means for. Like if you send a card, you write a card and send it to your wife, that lamed means this is for her or this is to her. So if you say lamed dawid, the letter lamed, dalet, vav, dalet, you really can't tell other than the vowels that were placed in later whether it's by David or for David. So there's one particular song where it says, psalm, where it's translated, that David wrote, the Lord said to my Lord, sit here at my right side until I put the enemies under your feet. The Lord said to my Lord. Well, David wrote that. No. There's another translation in Tanakh, I believe it says that one of David's men, or maybe it was one of his women, whatever, somebody wrote it about David. As if saying, Yahweh said to David, my Lord. It's like, well, which is it? We don't know. These guys say, we know darn well that that's what it meant. But see, the rabbinical perspective is that David didn't say, the Lord said to my Lord, as if his God was saying to his Savior, sit here at my right hand. That's the Christian interpretation. But for the rabbis to say, no, somebody wrote it about David, speaking of Elohim, saying to David, hey, sit at my right hand. Well, David's not sitting at his right hand. David's on earth, and he's in heaven. So it's rhetorical, metaphorical, poetical. It's like, is that the way it works? That's the way the scriptures are written. You can read them all these different ways, and so that's why there's confusion, which actually blossoms into different religions where people kill each other over the meaning of that one verse. But that's where it comes from, the meaning of the letter lamed. I'm just saying, the more you see in each letter, the more you realize why there's different translations and why there's different religions and why there's different philosophies. And then wisdom is that guy a fool or is that guy really smart? It's like, well, which side of the line do you want to camp on? And it's like, if we can back up and say, I'm going to get out of that fray, that fight, and say, I'm just trying to understand what he said, what it means. And I can see why other people are arguing, but I don't have to get sucked into the argument. I'm trying to read these letters. So the farther you back up and then get this overview, do you have any longer arms I can put and get a back view? That's what this study is. Just say back up and see what he's actually saying so that when you look real close, you can have a different perspective. You were about to say something?
Oh, I didn't want to get you off track, but that lekah, what keeps coming in my mind, maybe it's supposed to. Lechem is bread. How does that fit in there?
Well, that's actually lamed het mem. Okay, this is lamed kaf. So
okay.
Lamed het, interesting thing about lechem, lamed het mem, that jumps into this other letter. Het mem is the word for warmth, but it's also the word for battle, or to draw close and to engage. So if we draw close together in one household, or two people in one bed, you might say there's a warmth to be had. But also when you engage in battle, like two teams, the guys from Pittsburgh are going to play against the guys in Detroit and come together in football, basketball, hockey, whatever. So the word lechem is the same word for battle. And so when Joshua and Caleb said, you know, the 12 spies went in, the 10 spies came back with a bad report. These guys are going to destroy us. They're so big, they're so tough, their weapons are so sharp, and oh God, we don't have a prayer, we don't have a chance. And when Joshua and Caleb said, these guys will be our food, these guys will be bread for us, they said this, it was a play on words, idiomatic metaphor. The battle against these Philistines, against these Canaanites, is our bread. We will eat these guys. So the same word battle is the same, or war is the same word bread. So they were, again, when they were saying there'll be bread for us, they're playing off the understanding of the language. So the Israelites that were just came out of Egypt had a sense, a control of the Hebrew language at that time to even say something like that. And it's like, well, it only means, is it the same word, or did they know spelling? Did Moshe just invent the writing of the Hebrew letters, or did they already exist? Or It gets, see, just that one sentence brings in all these other issues, which is another part of the study, which is interesting. But anyway, just not to throw it off track, the point is, we're getting back here and saying, what you harbor in your heart is mem. Harbor what in your heart? You can harbor all kinds of things in your heart, but because we're studying the alphabet, it very specifically comes out of lameting the kaf. Well, if lamed is a hoe and kaf is furrows in the field, it's speaking of planting seed. And for Yeshua to say the word of Elohim is the seed. Well, the word of who? What Elohim? If you read King James English, you're going to get a different word than if you're reading the Latin or the Greek or the Hebrew. It's different. Oh yeah, it's the word of God. The Dabar Layawa is a little different than the word of God. It just is. It's translated. So this is the identity, the big white fence, the Het Tet Yod. So the whole idea of the four colors, Yod He Vav He, Yod, the hand of the Creator, He, the expression, which is the purple, which is this orange, which is the expression of the Creator, is the Torah in His language. Out of His mouth, as He spoke it, as His articulation. What did He say? What did He pronounce? What did He articulate? And I'm quoting from Jeremiah 23 by saying those words. That's the He of the Yod. That's the Kaf Lamed of the Het Tet Yod. Yahuwah's own words in His own language, out of His own mouth, written by His own finger in tables of stone, in the language that He thought would be the purest and cleanest of exact what He meant, is ancient Hebrew. It just is. But if you don't want that and you want Greek and English, well, go for it, or Latin or whatever other language. The point is, if the blue, purple, red, white lines up with Yod, He, Vav, He, then the He of the Yod is the Torah of the Creator. And then the Vav lining up with Vav being the number 6, the masculine suffix is Vav. It means here it. He is the feminine suffix. Yod, He, Vav, He ends in a He, so that's the feminine suffix. But Yod, He, Vav, He is the Shem Zakar. The word Zakar means masculine. So why is it called Yahuwah, which is feminine, instead of Yahu, which would be masculine? How can Yahuwah be the feminine suffix of the masculine name? Because the word Zakar means masculine. He's got all these little things going on. But what I'm saying is that the Vav then, the masculine suffix, well, that's a man. So if we say that the Mashiach of Israel is this Vav, that's a whole other study, but let's say the Mashiach of Israel is that Vav, then it lines up with the color red. The word Adam is the word red. Well, so that speaks of the human aspect. So if the Elohim we reference is Yod He Vav He, you've got that He's the Creator. Okay, there's the Yod. The revelation of the Creator in words, which is the Torah, there's the He. The revelation of the Torah, which is the revelation of the Creator in human form, that's the Vav. That's Mashiach Yeshua. And when He left, He says, I'm going to send you the Ruach to lead you in the truth and remind you of everything I said. That's the second He. Now lining up with the white linen. Blue, purple, red with white linen. White linen is the righteous works of the saints. The righteous works of the saints. The righteous works, righteousness is doing what the Torah said. That's why the second He is the same as the first He. The first He was the Torah. The second He is the human, the Vav, doing what the Torah said exactly. So He equals He, hence the balance. He on one side, He on the other side, the Vav in the middle. The picture of the menorah. The Shemesh, the center candle with 3 on this side, 3 on that side. 3 arms of the menorah, it looks like the 3 arms of the letter He tipped on their side. So what I'm saying is that the menorah is a picture of the Shemesh, which means S-U-N, sun, like the sun in the sky. But it's also called Shemesh because Shemesh really means a nimble servant. Quick, eager, zealous, faithful, responsible, with integrity to get up and do. Every day the sun jumps up, runs across the sky, sinks down, runs back around to the other side so he can jump up the next day and do his job and run back to the other side and jump up the next day, day after day after day, just like Yahweh told him to do. I'm anthropomorphizing the sun. Of course, we believe that it's just this ball of fire in the sky and that the earth spins, but that's a different matter. Some people don't think so, but that's a different matter. My point is it's all metaphorical, poetical, artistic, and we're trying to see patterns within the alphabet and spelling of words. So the same way that the psalmic or the menorah is 2 He's on either side of the Vav, hey, like that hat, you got the symbol, right? You got the Vav in the middle with the 2 He's. and the yod
Oh,
underneath
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, you gave me that idea.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that's the graphic symbol of that whole concept. And so to say yod, he, vav, he, yod is a prefix meaning he will, third person reference of an observer looking at it, and he, vav, he is the verb that means to exist or to happen. So yod, he, vav, he can be read as a word. He will cause it to exist. Or he is the one who sustains it happening. We're going to bump into that word in a minute. Not as the name of the Almighty, not as the tetragrammaton, but just as a action verb, he yod he, that's in Qoheleth 3:15. My point is, they will eat the fruit of their doings, pay the ayin of their somic. And what is birth somic, noon, is this action, it's like, so if somic is a tree bearing fruit, noon is like this flame. So I did this picture down here in the middle of the menorah on that flag of the Confederated 12 Tribes. On the tip of every one of those little branches of the menorah is 3 noons, but 4 in the middle, because he said there would be 3 bowls. And the idea is, well, the menorah had 1 reflector for each of the 7 branches, so it looks like 7 lights. But I've seen some lanterns where somebody invented having 2 wicks inside the lantern, which is much brighter, and if one goes out, the other one's still going. So you figure, well, what if the menorah had 3 cups on each of its branch with 3 wicks? If you had to trim a wick, you wouldn't be putting the other 2 out, and so you're never losing one of the lights. And that would mean if there's 3 on each of the 6 branches plus 4 in the middle, that's a total of 22. 22 wicks, 22 lights with 7 reflectors. That's 22 divided by 7. And it's like, gosh, that's the Mishkan, that's the alphabet divided by the Mishkan pattern. That's another part of the wheel within the wheel code. But what I'm saying is that this idea that the noon is the flame, mem is water. Well, wouldn't that put out the water? It's like, they're pictures, they're metaphors. So mem is what we have inside of us. Noon's that flame we have kindled, lit. The word lava, L-A-V-A in English, is molten rock. It comes out of a volcano from the heart of the earth. But the word pronounced lava in Hebrew, lamed bet, is the word heart. And lamed bet hey, lava, is to be inflamed or impassioned, invigorated, like, I'm all about this. That's where we get the word love. It's all related. It's the same thing. So the molten rock inside the volcano is the same word for that love we have in our heart regarding whether it's a human that we have a love interest for, or animals, or literature, or sports, or Elohim. Whatever we have that stirred, inflamed passion for is the lava.
It's really all about him, no matter what it is. He made good or bad, he made a picture of you to come back to him, or follow him, or know him, no matter what it is. I don't care if it's a light bulb or a blade of grass. There's
pictures and stories in the spelling of the words, and you take the English and you blend it with the Hebrew, and then you've got the Ladino, the Spanish blended with the Hebrew, and then you've got the Yiddish, which is German blended with the Hebrew, and all this stuff. And it's like the more you look, it's all over the place. Even the word samurai, Japanese, it's the same word for shamri or shomer, which is the first commandment given to Adam: watch, keep, and guard the garden. So to be a samurai was the original commandment, even before he named the animals. Interesting stuff. So what I'm saying here is that the Yod He Vav He is the somicking of the noon, the flame of your mem, based on your response of the Torah instructions, lamading the kaf, because you chose to enter the fence of Ket Tet Yod, whereas outside the fence is the darkness, the place of the weapon, the place of death, where Yeshua was crucified to allow us to come in. So to choose life, Moshe said, I put before you life and death. And I urge you, I suggest you choose life. To choose life is to enter, or to look towards the Ket Tet Yod. Turn to Yahweh, the 4 colors on the Mishkan fence. And when you choose Yahweh, it's just a choice. You're not doing anything yet other than choosing. But choosing Yahweh is to turn your back to the darkness, the weapon, the place of death outside. So the red heifer sacrifice was provided for those in contact with the dead, the pirates, the piratzim, those who break people and have no sense of value or humanity or virtue or any reason to live. So their symbol is the skull and crossbones of death. Those who are wrapped up and absorbed or in contact with the dead, who have been taken over by the dead, sold their soul to the adversary of the Lord of death, the Lord of the flies, the Beelzebub, the devil, the Satan guy, those who have given themselves over to that. And he said, ha ha ha, you're mine forever and you can never, well, that's not true. You can turn. You can turn because Yeshua was put to death. And there's even pictures of ancient times of the skull and crossbones under Yeshua's crucifix. And it's like, oh yeah, they're the bones of Adam. Well, they make up lies about their symbolism. But he even prevails to allow those who have sold their soul to Satan to come to the kingdom of heaven like the thief on the cross if they choose life instead of death.
The choice.
Yahweh said, I think it's in Isaiah, but he said, the man who does wickedness and is destined for death because his ways are death, if he stops doing wickedness and starts doing righteousness, none of his wickedness will be remembered. Yahweh will not recall your wickedness if you stop your wickedness and turn to righteousness. But he said also, the very next verse, the man who does righteousness, if he starts doing wickedness, none of his righteousness is going to be remembered. And remember, he said there's these books that are going to be opened on Judgment Day, and one of the book is the book of deeds where our righteousness will be recalled or our wickedness will be recalled. So if you were brought up in the church, good Catholic boy, or a Protestant worked real hard, and all of a sudden you become antified against to tear down and destroy. Now, some of those people may be thinking they're doing a good thing by destroying the beast, by demolishing the system that's been so reprehensible and so reproachful. There might be more to this philosophically than what meets the eye. And I'm not trying to condemn anybody, but what I'm saying is that to destroy evil is a good thing, even if it looks like Babylon got destroyed. Was that a good thing? Well, Babylon was Nineveh. Nineveh was just this powerhouse that put everybody else under this yoke of slavery. And so in the days of Jonah, when Nineveh, I think it was 40 years later or something, 70 years later, it actually was destroyed. It was like, everybody was set free. Woohoo! Get rid of those bad guys. And so what I'm saying is the destruction of a culture or a country is not necessarily a bad thing if that country and culture has been enslaving and destroying the lives of millions. And
you hear that, Congress?
There's more to this than meets the eye, but I'm saying, like we said in the video the other day, these people that are destroying Seattle right now, you better be careful, because everything you do, and not only Seattle, but there's other places, Atlanta and Detroit, but LA, Frisco, but what I'm saying is that what we do is a tree bearing fruit, and that fruit we bear, we will eat, and that's what you read in Isaiah 3, 9, and 10.
Yeah.
Yahweh's mishpat, his balancing of scales, and even this eyebrow above the eye is there for a reason. That word eyebrow happens to be in Qoheleth 3:15, and we're going to look at that. The point is, every little thing means something. Every little symbol, every little letter of the alphabet is Yahweh's mishpat. And in Psalms it says that the mishpat is the foundation of Yahweh's throne. What does that mean? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Oh, our Father, please bring your kingdom. When his kingdom shows up, mishpat shows up. A man's way is returned on his head. The cup of iniquity you made other people drink, you will drink to its dregs, and you will drink, and you will reel, and you will stumble, and you will fall. That's what, I'm quoting scripture, that's what Yahweh said. That's what he said about kingdoms, that's what he said about cultures, that's what he said about individuals.
Wow.
That is the kingdom of heaven, that a man's way will be returned on his own head. When the kingdom of heaven shows up, oh yes, everything's going to be la-di-da, and the lion will lie down with the lamb and it's actually the wolf. But the point is, it's like we have these pictures of what the kingdom of heaven is going to be, but it says numerous times through Scripture, when the kingdom of heaven shows up, a man's way is returned on his head. Bam, right out of the gate, that's what happens. So for people to call, Yahweh, send your mishpat, please. It's your own way that's going to be returned on your own head. That's for certain. And whether that ends up looking like the Holocaust or the tribulation or the burning of Atlanta and Seattle, it's like, I'm not going to excuse anybody. A man's way is going to be returned on his head. The way we have conducted our lives, if we have not repented, asked for forgiveness, and turned to righteousness, then Yahweh is going to send in the pirates, the piratzim. That's his word. It's a Hebrew word. It means those who have no regard, who break things, destroy things, where you get the word paretz. He's going to find the worst people to send them in. If he's sending in Antifa, Black Lives Matter, Soros, Gates, whoever he's sending in, or if he's sending in the Green Berets and the Navy SEALs, or if he's sending in the KGB or the CIA or the Stasi or whoever Yahweh sends in to accomplish his deed, the only hope we have, the only prayer we have, is we better have been doing and have turned to righteousness before it's too late, like the thief on the cross, or else they're here to take us and give us our own ways upon our own head. And if you think there is no law, then you're going to get what you've been given around with no law, because that's the balancing of scales. That's mishpat. And our only salvation or redemption or deliverance is to immediately start doing righteousness. It's like, quick, how do you do something righteous? I don't know what to do. How do I do something righteous? He told us what righteousness is, and it's in this pattern. First turn to him, then read his Torah and do what he said. And the primary example of righteousness is be kind to the downtrodden and help the widows and the orphans. And if you kick somebody's doors in, Mr. Antifa, if you kick somebody's doors in and rape and pillage and plunder and steal and threaten and extort, you're not being kind to the widow and orphan and to the aged. You're not showing respect. And you're going to get, not only temporally in this life, but unto eternity, you're going to get your own ways coming back on your own head, because that's mishpat of Yahweh.
Mishpat.
Mishpat, Mem Shin Pei Tet. So, for David to strengthen himself, as we were talking yesterday, he's in the darkness. His men are mutinying, want to kill him, just like they 3 million people wanted to kill Joshua and Caleb. The Philistines rejected him. Saul was hunting them down. Everybody turned against them. The Amalekites had raided Ziklag, burned it to fire, taken his wife and children. They didn't know whether there was any survivors at that moment or not. David's world was complete darkness. That's like the place of the crucifixion of Yeshua outside the fence. But he turned to Yahweh, and he strengthened himself in Yahweh. That's turning the big white fence. And then, what did Yahweh say? So he called for the priest. Let's consult that's a different matter, the ephod. But at least he consulted the word of Yahuwah through the priest, and then he went for what the word was. He said, okay, let's go. The priest gave us a word from Yahweh that we will be successful against whoever it was that did this raid. These marauders, that's a Hebrew word also that means raider. Marad, mem resh dalet, I believe it is. And so it's like, I don't know who they are, where they are, how many they are, but Yahweh said we will be successful. We're going to go get our people back. We're going to go punish the marauders. Turned out to be a whole valley full of Amalekites, probably tens of thousands of them. David and his 400 men prevailed. But what they did is Psalmic, they said, okay, let's, like the mast on the ship, set sail, let's go. We got the word, we took it to heart. We consulted the word of Yahweh, the Torah, Kaf Lamed. He took it to heart, Mem Nun, got 400 guys that were willing to go with him. Let's go. That's the Psalmic. And then the Ayin, they found a guy, and the guy said, hey, promise to deal justly with me. Promise me that you won't kill me or return me to my Amalekite master, and I'll tell you who these guys are and where they are. So that's the balancing of scales. The guy put before David, the way you treat me is going to determine your success and whether I'm going to help you. There's all this stuff embedded within this story if we stop and look at this. And David said, okay, he's talking. He says, tell me what's going on, and I will be merciful, and I will not kill you. I will not give you back to your slave master. David now puts himself in the line and says, this is what I'm going to do. And if he betrays his word, then David's going to catch hell, halal, profane, ruin, destruction, punched holes in. Literally, that's where we get the word hell, het lamed lamed. What I'm saying is that once you study the language, gosh, everything about the system of the world order makes sense. And then David talked to his men and says, okay, this is the way we're going to do it. And then he went out. It's like the thing opened up, and he saw this open valley before him. That's like that which opens up. And then David had to have a battle strategy for that moment. He saw this whole valley filled with Amalekites. They were partying, cavorting, drinking, feasting, mouth stuff. They were, woohoo! What a successful raid. There's nobody here to stop us. We took all these women. We took all these goods and belongings and food. And David swooped in while they were in their drunken stupor of completely not seeing what was happening around them. And they slaughtered every one of them. And David and his 400 men killed every Amalekite that was there except for, it says, 400 youths, teenagers, whatever, that jumped on camels and took off out of there. That was the Zodi. The Zodi is a picture of a scepter. The Zodi is a picture of a fishhook. You might say the pike that the British, what they called beefeaters, you'd use this fishhook harpoon-looking thing to pry open the armor and get the guy inside the armor. It was that kind of a weapon. There's the Mishkan pattern. That's what David did to strengthen himself of Yahweh. Turn to Yahweh, consult the Torah, take it to heart, launch out, remember mercy, confer because it's a social thing. Confer meaning Sukkot, meaning to pay the prayers of the saints, the altar of incense. I mean, David didn't launch out on his own, but he was in the strength of Yahuwah, and he prevailed Zadi, the scepter, the place of the Ark of the Covenant, the manifest of the hope set before you. If you know the other videos we've talked about, that's what that's about. Anyway, now, going back to then Isaiah 3, 9, and 10, he's talking about these people that look like they're prevailing, but they're the evil people, or even the people that have righteousness in the heart. They will eat the fruit of their doings. Period. Whether it's this side or that side, right or left, liberal or conservative, or commie or Nazi, or capitalist pig, or New World Order, or whatever you are, you're going to eat the fruit of your doings, both now and for eternity. That's Yahweh's kingdom. Now, let's look at Qoheleth 3:15. Did you have the way yours was phrased, or you got that there, Diana? Oh, maybe you have two different versions. Let's read them in three versions. Oh, okay. What do you got there? Qoheleth 3:15.
It says, whatever is has already been, and what shall be has been before. But Elohim seeks out what has been pursued.
Okay, are we still recording? It's still on? Okay. Say that again.
Whatever is, comma, has already been, and what shall be, comma, has been before. But Elohim seeks out what has been pursued.
You know what that means? It almost sounds like philosophical, poetic gobbledygook. But I'm saying, can you decipher what that means?
Well, it in my heart I feel like, just whatever has been whatever. I mean,
There's nothing new under the sun.
Nothing's no under the sun. Nothing changes. But we have the opportunity. We're our little kids that don't know anything. We're babies weaning, and then we come through life and we make choices. And are we going to pursue righteousness, or are we going to pursue evil?
But what does this mean? Elohim seeks that which is pursued? What?
Well, that's just. That's maybe. I'm sure there's a lot more here, but that's I like to think I'm maybe doing the right thing by pursuing His Torah.
Mm-hmm. But
that's all it means.
Elohim seeks.
So he
what
seeks,
is pursued?
He seeks his people who pursue him.
Okay, but that's different. To say that he seeks what is pursued. I could. If I'm a hunter, I'm out chasing that deer so I can have some dinner.
But our translation says what has been pursued.
What has been.
What has been pursued? Yeah. If I say, well, wait a minute. So we were talking the other day that. Come on, people for the last 2,000 years didn't have computers that we know of. They didn't have electricity, such as we know. Now we have computers and electricity. Well, what is has already been. Well, been when? Well, maybe before the flood they had electrical with, but we don't know that. It's like, oh, come on. But if they invented it, it didn't come before. They invented it. So what do you mean? It's like this. Like I said, it sounds like philosophical gobbledygook. It's like, oh, come on. No. Well, yeah. Solomon wrote Qoheleth. The word Qoheleth means preacher. Because the word kahal is assembly. So a preacher is someone who speaks to an assembly. People watching YouTube is an assembly, a kahal. It became the word church, but it also comes from the word ecclesia, which is Greek for the assembly. Where we get the word Ecclesiastes, which is the name of this book, which is also where we get the word ecclesiastical, which is to say the church structure of authority, which is to say, here's the Pope, here's the cardinals, here's the priest, here's the preacher, here's the laity, here's the literate ones, and here's the illiterate ones. That structure is the ecclesiastical order. And monks and friars and everybody else thrown in the mix. But elders and deacons and the Presbyterian model and all that. But Qoheleth is the guy who dispenses wisdom to the assembled masses, just so people know where this comes from, which is why it's called Ecclesiastes. But for him to say, I've got something really profound to tell you, what has been is what is what has been. Okay, what are we supposed to do with that? God seeks that which was pursued. Okay. What does that mean? God seeks that which was pursued? Hey, what's on TV? We got a football game coming up, don't we? It's like, what am I supposed to do with this stuff? In the Hebrew, it says much more. That's what we have to do with this stuff. So let's look at it in the Hebrew. Memhe, that's the word ma. Mm-hmm. And it means what, how, why, how much. It's a description or a seeking of something's essence. How tall is that? How big is that? How much does it weigh? Hey, if we're going back to the letter ayin, scales of balance, it means weigh carefully, balance exactly, deliberate. That is the science, the doing of the word ma. The word science has to do with knowing or comprehending or determining what we see was created. We're assessing the vav, the hay of the yod. A vav is a nail, it's a man. The vav is drawn as a bridge, right? Like a wishbone. It's two sides, one becoming two. It's this concept of taking this and making it equal that. So even in the design of the orthography, the letter shape of the vav is to make sense and combine things and to have a one concept of what you see hayed concerning the yod. So science is literally making sense, making one of the different things, the disparate. That's the two arms of the vav is also shaped like the goblet with the stem. So what I'm saying, you take these different things that you perceive, that's the hay, so that must mean that was what the hand of the yod of Yahuwah, our Elohim, created. To make sense of all that is to bring it down and say, oh, that's now I can quantify and I can qualify. Those two jobs, quantification, qualification, is ma. What is it? How much? The essence of something? To determine what it is. Well, the next word is shin he yod he. Well, he yod he is the verb, just like he vav he, to exist. And with the Almighty existing one, the Almighty called himself El Shaddai. The existing one is Ehyeh, Aleph He Yod He. Well, this is Shin He Yod He. Yod He Vav He, different, it's either a Yod or a Vav separated by the two He's, is Shem Zakar. So what I'm saying is like, it's a study of Hebrew. Look at it. If you don't want to study Hebrew, go watch cartoons. The point about this is that, or Westerns, some Westerns are pretty good. You can watch those.
I love those.
Yeah. Shin He Yod He. Shin is a prefix letter that can mean in the condition of, letter bet is a very similar prefix letter in that sense, or that which belongs to, and He Yod He is to exist. But if you look in the Red Dictionary, the word Shin He Yod He means fermata. That's not something, that's not a way to make eggs. Fermata is a musical term. It's the eyebrow. Frittata is the thing what you do with eggs. Fermata is the eyebrow, like above the eye here in the picture of the letter ayin. And as a musical note, I was always taught it was the what's it called? Something about the bird's eye, I think. If you have a whole note, so you sustain it, you wouldn't put it over a quarter note, but to sustain a whole note, you put this eyebrow over it. It's called a fermata, and it means to sustain, delay, lingering. This word, Shin He Yod He, is that word, fermata. Okay, but why is it used here? Something is sustained, lingering. If you're in a progression and all of a sudden you're interrupted, like a TV commercial, or like what we just did about talking about the egg thing, instead of talking about what we're talking about, that was an example of a fermata. We're interrupted, we're delayed, hey, what's going on? You stalled out. That's the word. The root of the word He Yod He, now you have to break things down and say, well, there's yods and vavs are like these wild cards you drop in. So if you look at Shin He He, that's the word for lamb or little sheep. One who goes out slowly. And so, we're all held up because the kids have to pick up the toys. We're supposed to go somewhere, but they're so slow. Or they need to have another bathroom break. You're interrupting. That's why the little lambs went out first. Because the command, get out of here, that's actually Lamed Kaf, Lakah, but it's also Zadi Aleph, which is this discharge, this explosive. But you don't send the fast runners out first, unless that's a military tactic. But when the whole group is moving, you send the little lambs out first, because their pace slows everything down. That's this word. Because
just like Jacob met Esau.
Exactly. Because if you send the fast ones out, the little lambs are going to be wearied and you'll lose them. But if you send the little lambs, everybody else can just have some patience, just deal with it, wrap your intellect around your behavior. Okay. That's this word, Shin He Yod He. So if it's talking about Ma Shaya, Mem He hyphen to Shin He Yod He, the essence of, well, you could also say when you slow down, it's for the sake of sustaining or enduring. A bird's eye fermata over a note. But it also means interruption. Well, wait a minute. How's that an interruption? If we're watching a long show, it's like, remember back in the old days, you'd have an interruption of a commercial break where everybody go to the, what do they call it, the snack house or the movie theater? What was that? You go to get popcorn.
Concession
Stand, and you interrupt the movie, and everybody go to the concession stand and get something, come back and sit in the car and drive in the movie theater, and popcorn or whatever, use the bathroom. Commercial break on TV, it means to pause or to stay. So if something is either retarded or delayed or something is interrupted, that's this word, ma shaya. The essence of the lingering or the essence of the delay, it's like to loiter, just hanging around. Something is delayed in the progress of its otherwise just galloping accomplishment. The next word is kabar, kaf bet resh. This word will show up again 4 words later. But it means a sieve or sifted. It also means already. Already. No, wait a minute. Let's look at the other words. It means make something strong or multiplied. Well, wait a minute. Now that reminds me of a story. Remember it said that Pharaoh, in the days of Moshe before the Exodus, Pharaoh had this stiff neck, and Yahweh stiffened his neck even more. No, what he did was he amplified Pharaoh's attitude that he already had. Well, wait a minute. That's what this is talking about. The essence of what already exists is amplified. So it's like through a sieve, you're not taking new stuff and throwing it in. A sieve is to shake out some stuff and leave other stuff that's already in there, but didn't make it more clear. The word, this is also the word like kebar, kaf bet resh, K-B-R. B-R means to be refined or pure. That's what you do with a sieve. A sieve is you take out some stuff and leave other stuff so you get a better quality or more refined or more exact. You're saying, what's really going on in here? And you sift it down. So when there's trouble in the country, you say, gee, I thought we were all friends. I thought we were all compatriots. You sift it through some trouble, and all of a sudden, these guys are freaking idiots, and these guys are, well, pick your favorite adjective. Which side is which? You know, the black squares, the white squares on the chessboard, like the other video that we were doing, and say, listen, we have a different game. We're talking about a whole different game. It's not the chessboard of who's the white and the black, or who's the, the beige and the brown, or who's the red and the green, and the blue and the, gosh, wait a minute. Yahweh's game is, like I said, this game of rocks, because Mitzrayim means rocks, and Yahweh's are Zar, where we get Zadi Rest, where we get his Salah. There's all these different words for rock. But what I'm saying is that our game is to learn his Torah, take it to heart, and do what he said. That's our game. This other game, where the essence of sustaining... okay, you do something by accident. It's like, oh, no, I'm guilty, I did something. If you didn't kill him on purpose, it's manslaughter. If you killed him on purpose and laid in wait, it's murder. You do it again, you're a killer. What you keep doing, what you sustain, that's what this is talking about. Pharaoh had a thought, he had counselors. The word king, melech, means also one who takes counsel. Lakah, go this way. Yahweh gave counsel. And so you do this by accident. Does that mean that's who you are? No, you did it by accident. Oops, I did something right. Gee, how'd that happen? Or, oops, I did something wrong. I don't know what got over me. I was not myself. I was insane for a moment. What I'm saying is that even in our courts of law, we deal with these subjects. But that which you sustain on purpose, yeah, that's the Shin He Yod He. And Yahweh's going to sift through to find who are you by the circumstances that he allows in the area that looks like the darkness. So when somebody comes up with an idea as a teenager, yeah, that sounds like fun. I know one guy as a teenager, he was in a car and three of his friends went into the 7-Eleven. They came out and said, get out of here quick. What? Just get out of here. Well, they had killed somebody in there and he ended up going to jail for being the getaway driver. He didn't even do it. He didn't even know what they were doing. Better pick your friends. The point is, what I'm saying is what you sustain in your heart, Yahweh is going to sift through the circumstances of your life. The next word, Hevav Elef, that means the same or he or it. So that thing which is sifted through. Then the next word, Vav Aleph Shin Resh. The word Ashar means straight, valid, authorized, or confirmed. So Yahweh is going to sift through by the circumstances in your life to find out who you really are and validate and confirm that. And then the Lamed He Yod Vav Tav, La Hayot, means unto or to be in existence, or that is that thing that causes to be in existence. And here's this word Kabar. Already sifted, sieved, make strong, multiplied. And then this word He Yod He, to exist, happen, become, or cause to bring about. Wait a minute, if you stop that, is it going to